Hi, hello everyone. I'm so happy to see you here. I was wondering, have you seen this meme before? I'll give you a couple of seconds to read it. The mic. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you for your feedback. This is how it should work, precisely. Thanks. Still not working. Okay. Maybe I could use the traditional mic? Yeah, I should eat it properly to make it work. I'll hold it like this all the time. Okay, so I'm sure you have read this by this time. So my question is, have you seen it before? Yes, who have? Okay, some people did. You know, some time ago, I realized that the internet is filled with memes like this, either complaining about Agile as a whole or about certain aspects of it. For example, there is a lot of laughing as well as frustration regarding the usage of stickies. There are dozens of memes reflecting the resentment towards things like the burndown chart. A lot of them show the disappointment in how the estimation works, or to be more precise, how it does not work. They often express disbelief in practices like the planning poker or the usage of story points. So no wonder for some time we've all been hearing that Agile is dead. And Barry here wrote a great article, you should read it actually, about summarizing this trend and how to cope with it. Some people even went so far as to say that this is a good thing that Agile is dead, because it was not helpful anymore, and people are simply fed up with it. But my question is, are they truly complaining about Agile or about something else? Here's another question for you guys. Have you recently read the manifesto for the Agile software development or the 12 Agile principles? If you did, please raise your hand. Great. Okay, so the next part should be fun. I'm going to show you a bunch of phrases, and I'd like you guys to guess how many times this phrase appears in those two documents counted together, okay? So if you think that this phrase appears, for example, 2 times, please show 2 fingers. If you think it, I don't know, shows 8 times, show 8 fingers. If you think it does not appear at all, you can show 0 like this, okay? And please be very careful when showing me 1 finger, okay? So let's begin. Story point. What's your guess? How many times it appears? Yes, all of you are correct. It does not appear at all. What about the planning poker? Sure thing. It's not mentioned there. Estimate, estimation, estimating. Oh, I can see that there are some mixed opinions here. It's not mentioned either. What about burn down, burn up, burn? Yeah, this was easy, I know. It's not there. Sticky, post-it, or things like write or note. Okay, you're getting very good at this. Yeah, it's not there. And the last one, stories, tasks. Sure, it's not there either. So what's in there? Well, I have an idea. Let's look at it together, okay? And we'll start with the manifesto for Agile software development. This is actually a print screen for the page where it was originally published. And at the beginning, there is this introduction. We are uncovering better ways of developing software by doing it and helping others do it. Through this work, we have come to value. And I will scroll it down a bit. And here comes the widely known fragment of the manifesto. Individuals and interactions over processes and tools. Next, working software over comprehensive documentation. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation, and responding to change over following a plan. We've all heard it, right? Many, many times. But there is another fragment below it that is usually omitted. And it says, that is why there is value on the items on the right. We value the items on the left more. And that means that things like processes and tools, comprehensive documentation, contract negotiation, and following a plan, they are important in Agile. They are important. They're just not as important as those things on the left. And this should not be a surprise, because what's good about following a plan if this is obsolete? You should be able to change it and adjust, right? What about creating comprehensive documentation or following some processes that are not working at this moment for you? You should be able to bypass it, to focus on interactions and collaboration when the process is blocking you. So if you think about it as a whole, it actually makes a lot of sense. And that's all there is in the manifesto, but we still have 12 principles to go, okay? And I will show you them one by one, so we can investigate together whether there are some, obsolete or harmful techniques on tools that wouldn't work, okay? So let's stay curious and see what's in there. The first principle says our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. There is nothing about output, okay? It's not about creating as much output as possible. No, it's about creating the value. There are also two quite similar principles in the manifesto, and those two look like this. Deliver working software frequently, from a couple of weeks to a couple of months, with a preference to shorter timescale. And I know that this didn't age well, because nowadays we can deliver things even a few times a day. But I think it redeems itself because it says about the preference to the shorter time scale. Of course, if applicable, right, if needed. And the other looks like this. Working software is the primary measure of progress, because for your client, it really doesn't matter how much tasks have you done or how many hours did you put in them. For your client, what matters is whether he has something of value, something useful to him. So if I were to summarize those three principles together, I would do it in just one sentence. Don't keep people waiting. Makes sense, right? Let's have a look at the next principle. Welcome changing requirements even late in development. Agile processes harness change for the customer's competitive advantage. And I know this is the most controversial one, because it's usually misunderstood. And to understand it correctly, we have to look at a broader context. And we have it in two other principles. So let's see them. Continuous attention to technical excellence and good design enhances agility. And my favorite picture, simplicity. The art of maximizing the amount of work not done is essential. Now, what those three mean together? Plan your solutions in a way that you will be able to adjust them easily in the future. So when your customer's competitive advantage is at stake, you will be able to support him through introducing changes, either in the product itself or in the requirements if they have not been yet implemented, right? But do not agree to implement every single idea that pops up or every single request for change that was expressed. No, instead, proactively decide not to do things that wouldn't bring much value. So this is the maximizing the amount of work not done. We are deciding not to do it ever because it wouldn't bring much value. Why? Because this way we are making more space for creating good design, good solutions that enhance agility. And you see, there's nothing about changing requirements every 2 weeks. It's not about it. It's about being able to support your customer when he needs it. So to sum those three up, when you're deciding what to do, how to implement it, and whether to implement it at all, think and use common sense to be prepared for the future. Now to principles about communication. Business people and developers must work together daily throughout the project. This one is pretty obvious. The more we talk, the more we align, discuss things, the smaller is the risk of some epic miscommunication, right? So we should definitely align with our business people to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do instead of working on output, not the value, right? The next one says, the most efficient and effective method of conveying information to and within a development team is face-to-face conversation. And I think we can easily agree on this one, especially if you have ever been working in a team that was spread across several countries or even several continents, how difficult it is to rely only on emails or chat. And of course, we can say that now we can have video conferences, video chats, it's so helpful. Yeah, it is very helpful. But did you notice that we are still having business trips? We are still having visits from one side to another. Why? Because people know that there is nothing more effective than the face-to-face conversation. Now we'll have two principles about motivation and self-organization. Build projects around motivated individuals. Give them the environment and support they need, and trust them to get the job done. And the other says, the best architectures, requirements, and designs emerge from self-organizing teams. Motivation is such a hot topic right now. There are dozens of conferences, articles, books, and so on about motivation and how to foster it, especially at the workplace. And they all agree that key factors in this are trust, support, and one's ability or team's ability to decide on their own how to proceed with the work. And it's captured here. This manifest is 24 years old, and they knew it back then how important it is to support the motivation in the team and to let them decide on their own. And we have covered 10 principles so far, so just 2 more to go, and those will be my 2 favorite. This one says, Agile processes promote sustainable development. The sponsors, developers, and users should be able to maintain a constant pace indefinitely. Please note that it does not say that deadlines are forbidden. It only says that when we are planning a project, some processes, how we'll proceed with the work, we have to make sure that we will be able to work in a tempo that we can maintain for a very, very long time without being exhausted, drained out, or demotivated. So we have to make sure that all the people that are somehow, in this process, right, even sponsors and users, we have to be able to work in a healthy tempo, in a healthy pace. Sounds a lot like work-life balance, right? And they knew it back then, 24 years ago. And the last one. I know Jenny had a quite similar cartoon as well. At regular intervals, the team reflects on how to become more effective and then tunes and adjusts, right, its behavior accordingly. If for any given reason you're allowed to implement only one principle from the set of 12, I strongly suggest you go with this one. Why? Because it wouldn't matter how horrible the situation was at the beginning. If the team frequently pauses their work to inspect, see what are they doing, how to improve it, how to be more effective, pun intended, then slowly but surely the things will get better and better with every iteration. And you know what? That's all there is in the manifesto and 12 principles behind it. And did we find any strange techniques? Any tools that can be harmful? I don't think so. And this should not be a surprise because, come on, okay, because those principles and the manifesto, it was created by developers, and dare I say experienced ones, as you can see on this picture, for other developers to make their work easier and more effective, not more difficult. So the question remains, what went wrong? And frankly, at least this is my belief, at the beginning, there were a lot of experimentation when people were trying to enact those principles. And this is good because we should definitely be experimenting a lot to find the solutions, the ideas, the processes that actually suit us. This is good. Some of those things that were invented, those ideas and tools and techniques, gained quite a popularity. They became such popular that at one point, people started to think that Agile equals those tools. And this is not true. And of course, they were trying to reproduce them in their own environment. And we know how it usually works, right? So the same very technique that is very helpful in one team can be very harmful in another team. Around the same time, somehow we all have forgotten that Agile is actually an adjective describing how we should work. And we started to use it as a noun. So there was a lot of fuss about doing Agile, let's do Agile, and so on. Luckily, at one point, there was this shift, this awakening. One does not simply do Agile. You have to become Agile, you have to be Agile. But frankly, I do not buy this approach either. If you look into the dictionary, Agile means able to move quickly and easily, like the roadrunner. I really don't think I have to be like the roadrunner so that my work could be effective. No, let's go back to the basis and remember that this is our work, how we are approaching it. That should be Agile. And to do so, we should not keep people waiting. We have to think and use common sense and talk and align frequently. Basically, this is the summary of the whole manifesto and the principles. That's all there is if we were to, squeeze it into the nutshell. And I know that, yes, there are some critics who say that Agile is truly obsolete because nowadays you have to do so many different things to be actually competitive, right? Predicting the market, predicting the user's needs, bringing in the DevOps culture or implementing Lean to, exclude the waste, right? And to all of those people I say, yes, definitely do it because those things are truly boosting your effectiveness. But to make them work, you have to put them on solid bases. And those bases are captured here in the manifesto and 12 principles behind it. So to summarize this journey that we have just undergone together, I don't think there's anything obsolete about the manifesto or 12 principles behind it. Instead, they give us really solid basis, and we could and should build up on it. Try different approaches, different tools, just to make sure that you're choosing those that actually are boosting your effectiveness instead of impeding you. So if I were to answer the question that this year's conference is asking us, effectiveness, is Agile still the answer? I would say that yes, definitely, this is the very necessary part of it, although it may not be the full answer. But we should not forget about those basics. At the end, I want to say thank you and shout out. First of all, I'm not the owner of those memes. Those memes were created by really brilliant people in the internet, so all kudos go to them. And I would also like to thank Kasia Put and Iwona Wyszyńska. I've been working with them on a similar project quite recently, and they inspired me to do this talk, as well as help me find some of those memes. So thank you, gals, wherever you are. And I hope we have still some time for questions. Don't be shy, I'm not that scary. Okay, sometimes I am. Thank you.
I want to say the words of appreciation. Thank you very much for looking into the basics, into the Agile Manifesto. Indeed, it makes a lot of sense, and we should come to the basics and check if we are somehow corresponding to those things which have been already said, which are proved themselves as good practices. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yay, another question. So happy.
Question, maybe a thought. Let's see
Okay.
how it goes. So in general, thanks, because it's really reassuring to remind ourselves, that what we believed and liked and loved is still relevant. I have this thought that talking to Scrum Masters, Agile people, this is reassuring, and we could get back to it and feel that our foundations are stable. Then when we introduce some real changes down to earth in the companies, I have a thought that maybe we should not so much talk about the manifesto, and considering the perception that it brings and lots of, let's say, second thoughts, some of those misleading information that we've seen on the first slide, but still that's how some people think. My feeling is that we should talk about the real problems and, use the tools that work instead of coming back to those basics. Wanted to ask if you agree or you think it's worthwhile to present manifestos and come back to them with the teams, with the stakeholders, with managers.
Okay, so regarding showing the manifesto to anyone at your company, I don't think this is a good opening, okay? Because you look like, some agile guru that is, thinking that this is a religion nearly, right? So when I'm working with my teams, I tend not to ever mention either the Scrum Guide or the manifesto, rather advise them or coach them, so they can come up with better ideas. So this is rooted in the manifesto or in the Scrum Guide, but I don't have to remind them about it, right? Because if you say to somebody, you have to do this because the manifesto says so, it wouldn't boost their, love for this, right? It would rather boost the totally different approach to it. So I'm trying not to use it as an argument. But regarding what you have said before, I totally agree with you, especially this article by Barry summarizes exactly what you have said. So one point about the approach of most of the people, that Agile is that, this is obsolete, let's not do it anymore, and how to cope with it. And he says in this article that you should stop saying about the doing Agile, but actually, keep your hands dirty in solving the problems. This is how we can show other people that Scrum Master and Agile coaches are really needed, because they are doing the great job, not just preaching about the manifesto or Scrum Guide. Thanks for this question. It was really great.
I've just thought about Scrum Guide, which is another kind of a manifesto for people using Agile. So how do you find mixing Agile manifesto with Scrum Guide, and what's in Scrum Guide may be so misleading into, strictly boundaries and tools, and maybe that's the reason people are confusing Agile methodologies.
So Scrum Guide, for me, this is a pure gold. As long as you're working at the situation that they are describing, one team, one product. But this is not the situation that we're actually working in usually, right? Who's working with one team and one product in this room? Yeah, that's what I thought. So yeah, that's why I believe that when we are scaling at Scrum, we should use Agile to do it. So again, think and use common sense, right? And do it in a way that suits you, instead of simply following a plan. And we can now treat this Scrum Guide as a plan, right? So adjust it to boost your effectiveness and not follow it blindly because the Scrum Guide says so. But there are so many really great insights in the Scrum Guide. So definitely read it. Well, maybe not know it by heart, but yes, definitely read it frequently to be able to support your team using fragments of it, right? But again, just what I said, not bringing actually Scrum Guide to the team, but rather helping them understand what's important and how to proceed. Did I answer your question? If not, you can, rephrase it.
Maybe partly, because from my experience is that people who says, well, Scrum doesn't work because you do not use it by the book. Using by the book Scrum means using strictly Scrum Guide, like you need to have all those roles,
Events.
meetings.
Sure.
And my experience is, as you said, most often is you have to experiment and take what you need. So for me, Scrum Guide is a guide, but it's not that Scrum is not working because you're not using it by the Scrum Guide. I don't know what's your experience, but I'm curious.
I mean, it cannot work if you're working in totally different situation that is described them. So yeah, it cannot work. I think if you have many teams cooperating together or on one gigantic product or a suite of products together, you have to somehow adjust it to your situation. And there are some frameworks that are helping to do it. But again, with those frameworks, be careful and simply, experiment, inspect, and adapt, right? See what's working for you. Did I do better this time? Oh, great to hear this.
Okay, I guess that's all. We have just one more minute, but no hands raised. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.